There comes a time in every thinking man's life when he must stand alone with himself and admit, without excuse and without disguise, that the life he now possesses is the result of the habits he has allowed to rule him. Not the accidents of fortune, not the cruelty of circumstance, not the kindness or neglect of others, but the steady, often invisible momentum of the small, repeated actions he has chosen day after day. A man is not the sum of his dreams, nor the sum of his talents. He is the sum of his habits, and if those habits are weak, unfocused, and undisciplined, no amount of ambition will deliver him to greatness. The truth is simple, yet it is the rare man who accepts it. You will not rise above the level of your daily disciplines. You will not suddenly become strong in the hour of trial if you have been weak in the quiet hours of routine. You will not command fortune if you cannot command the first and last minutes of your day. As the sculptor shapes marble by thousands of small, deliberate strikes, so too is your destiny shaped by the countless small actions you repeat, without applause, without recognition, and without the false urgency of deadlines. If your habits are left to chance, your life will be left to chance. This is the root of mediocrity, drifting from one day to the next without a fixed purpose, allowing the mind to be governed by impulse and emotion instead of reason and command. This is the way of the reactive man, the man who waits for events to decide his moves, who lets the moods of others dictate his energy, who allows comfort to negotiate with his ambition. Such a man may work hard, but his work is scattered. He may be intelligent, but his intelligence is unfocused. He may have moments of inspiration, but they are washed away by long seasons of inertia. Understand this law. Your mind is the throne room of your life, and your habits are the guards you station at its gates. If your guards are careless, any intruder can enter fear, doubt, distraction, anger, vanity. These invaders do not need force to defeat you. They need only to be allowed inside. But if your habits are disciplined, deliberate, and aligned with your definite purpose, they will admit only what strengthens you and shut the gate against all else. The first principle you must adopt is definiteness of purpose. Without it, habits have nothing to serve but your moods, and moods are treacherous masters. Decide exactly what you will achieve. Fix it in your mind as a non-negotiable aim, and let every habit be measured against the single question: does this move me toward my purpose or away from it? If toward, reinforce it. If away, eliminate it. In this way, your habits become an army serving your aim, not a mob serving your impulses. The second principle is mastery over emotion. A man who allows his habits to be dictated by how he feels in the moment will never know mastery. The weak man says, I will work when I feel inspired, I will train when I feel motivated, I will read when I am in the mood. And so he remains a slave to feeling, producing nothing of weight because his production depends on conditions outside his control. The master says, I will work because the work must be done. I will train because my strength must grow. I will read because my mind must be sharpened. In doing so, he removes the power of feeling to decide his fate. The third principle is mental discipline. This is the habit of giving yourself an order and seeing it obeyed. It begins with small commands: rise at the time you said you would, begin the task when you said you would, finish it when you said you would. Each kept command strengthens the chain of self-control. Each broken command weakens it. In time, the disciplined man no longer argues with himself about whether to act. He acts because that is his nature. The fourth principle is accurate thinking. The man of accurate thinking examines his habits not through the lens of convenience or tradition, but through the lens of cause and effect. He asks, does this habit create strength or weakness, clarity or confusion, progress or stagnation? He does not deceive himself with excuses about balance or rest when in truth he is indulging procrastination. He sees his habits as they are and judges them by the results they produce. The fifth principle is personal initiative. Your habits must not merely maintain your current state. They must advance you toward your purpose. The man of initiative builds habits that push him into action before the crowd has decided. He begins his work before the order is given, studies before the test is announced, invests before the market applauds. His habits make him a cause in his own life, not an effect. You must come to see your habits as tools, not as accidents. The weak man treats his habits as if they are given to him by fate, as if they are beyond his control. He says, "This is just the way I am," as if his nature were a prison. The master knows that habits are chosen, built, and enforced. He knows that a man can remake himself by remaking the actions he repeats each day. If you rise late, train yourself to rise early. If you consume idle talk and trivial entertainment, train yourself to consume books and ideas that sharpen your purpose. If you speak without thought, train yourself to pause, to measure, to speak with intention. If you allow hours to be lost to distraction, train yourself to guard your time as you would guard gold. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait for permission. The reshaping of destiny begins in the smallest, simplest acts done with relentless consistency. It begins in the quiet decision to replace one weak habit with one strong one, and to do it again tomorrow and the day after, until the weaker self no longer has a voice in your counsel. For when your daily habits serve your definite purpose, when they are enforced by discipline, directed by accurate thinking, protected by emotional mastery, and driven by personal initiative, you will have taken command of the only realm you truly control, your inner world. And when you command your inner world, the outer world bends to follow. Wealth, influence, opportunity, these are but the shadows cast by the form of a man who has mastered himself. So build your habits, as a king builds his walls deliberately, patiently, with the knowledge that each brick laid today will decide the strength of your fortress tomorrow. For in the end, destiny is not written in the stars. It is written in the ink of your daily actions. And if you would reshape your destiny, you must first reshape the habits by which you live. Understand this: there is no such thing as a neutral habit. Every habit you possess is either moving you toward your definite purpose or pulling you away from it. There is no middle ground, no harmless indulgence, no small compromise that doesn't matter. In the mathematics of destiny, every repetition counts. Each day you keep a strong habit, you reinforce the structure of your future. Each day you keep a weak habit, you reinforce the chains that bind you to mediocrity. It is here that most men fail, not in the great tests of life, but in the small ones. They imagine that the battle for success will come in the form of one grand decision, one decisive moment where they will rise to the occasion and claim their victory. But life does not work this way. Destiny is not determined by the rare moment. It is built in the common hour. You will not rise to the level of your intentions. You will fall to the level of your training. If you rise every day without purpose, if you drift into your work without clarity, if you spend your evening drowning in trivial distraction, you are training yourself for a life of reaction, not creation. You are conditioning your mind to accept passivity, to be led instead of to lead. And the tragedy is that you will not notice the cost until years have passed and the gap between who you are and who you could have been has grown too wide to cross. This is why definiteness of purpose must come first. You cannot build habits in a vacuum. They must serve something higher than convenience. A definite purpose is like the architect's blueprint without it. No amount of labor will produce a building worth inhabiting. You may work hard, but without the guiding lines of a clear aim, your work will pile up without form, a collection of scattered efforts with no structure to hold them together. When you decide with finality what you will achieve, you set in motion a chain reaction. Your mind begins to filter opportunities through the lens of your purpose. Your attention sharpens, your time becomes more valuable, and you begin to see the waste in actions that once seemed harmless. You no longer measure habits by how they make you feel in the moment, but by whether they serve the end you have chosen. But here lies the first challenge. As soon as you set your purpose, the world will test it. Distractions will multiply. People will pull at your time with urgent but unimportant matters. Doubt will creep in, whispering that you chose too great a goal, that you should be more realistic, that you should slow down. Without emotional detachment, you will surrender to these forces before your purpose has even taken root. Emotional detachment is not the absence of passion. It is the mastery of it. It is the ability to remain unmoved by the moods of others, to keep your internal state steady when the external world shifts without warning. When insulted, you do not lash out. When praised, you do not grow arrogant. You receive both with equal calm, because neither changes your aim. This calmness is not weakness, it is strength in its most refined form. It is the composure of a man who knows where he is going and refuses to be turned from his path by those who do not. With purpose chosen and detachment guarding it, you must next enforce your will through discipline. Discipline is the bridge between your intention and your achievement. Without it, your purpose will remain a dream, vivid in imagination, empty in reality. Discipline is the daily proof that you are loyal to your own word. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that you are a man who can be trusted. Every time you break one, you weaken that belief, and in doing so, you weaken your power. Do not wait for discipline to become easy. It will never be easy. The value of discipline lies precisely in its resistance, in the fact that it demands effort, demands sacrifice, demands that you push against the part of yourself that would rather rest. And it is in winning this small war each day that you become capable of winning greater wars tomorrow. Yet discipline alone is not enough. A disciplined man marching in the wrong direction will only reach failure faster. This is why accurate thinking is essential. Accurate thinking strips away illusions. It refuses to be seduced by appearance, by rumor, by the comfort of half-truths. It demands that you separate what you know from what you assume, what you have verified from what you have merely heard. A man of accurate thinking examines his habits as a scientist examines his experiments. He does not cling to a habit because it is familiar. He measures its results. If it strengthens him, he keeps it. If it weakens him, he replaces it, no matter how much comfort it provided. In this way, he constantly refines himself, discarding what no longer serves his purpose and adding what does. Finally, personal initiative is the force that brings all the others to life. Purpose without action is fantasy. Detachment without action is passivity. Discipline without action is stagnation. Accurate thinking without action is unused intelligence. Initiative is the habit of moving first, of stepping into opportunity before it announces itself to the crowd, of creating momentum rather than waiting for it. The man of initiative does not wait to feel ready. He knows that readiness is a myth, that conditions will never be perfect, that the only way forward is to move, while the opportunity is still invisible to those who wait for certainty. Each time he acts, he not only advances toward his goal, but strengthens the habit of action itself, until it becomes second nature to move decisively and without hesitation. When these five forces, purpose, detachment, discipline, accurate thinking, and initiative, are woven into your daily habits, you cease to live by chance. Your days become deliberate. Your actions become cumulative. Your results become inevitable. And the destiny you once saw as distant begins to take form in the reality of each passing day. This is the law. Control your habits, and you control your life. Build them with the same precision and care you would use to construct the foundation of a fortress, for that is exactly what they are, the structure upon which your future will stand or fall. Guard them as you would guard gold, for they are more valuable than gold. They are the tools by which gold is earned, kept, and multiplied. Every man is building something with his habits. The question is whether you are building a palace or a prison. The answer will not be found in what you hope for or even in what you believe. It will be found in what you do every day, without fail, without excuse, without surrender. Every day you live is a vote for the man you will become. The ballot is cast not in grand gestures, not in public declarations, but in the quiet repetition of your habits. The weak man casts his vote without thinking. He surrenders it to convenience, to comfort, to the unexamined pull of impulse. The master casts his vote with precision, every act, every thought, every moment weighed against the standard of his definite purpose. Definiteness of purpose is the bedrock. Without it, every habit you form will drift toward the path of least resistance, and that path never leads upward. Decide now, not vaguely, not conditionally, but finally what you will achieve. Let it be a goal that seizes your imagination, that commands your respect, that is worthy of your life's energy, and once chosen, bind yourself to it as if no other life were possible. This decision is the filter through which all habits must pass. If an action strengthens your pursuit, it stays. If it hinders, it goes. The choice is that simple, but it is not easy. For here you will meet the first resistance of the weaker self. He will bargain for exceptions. He will plead for just this once. He will dress old habits in new disguises. You must refuse him, for every compromise granted is a stone stolen from the walls of your fortress. Purpose alone, however, is not enough. A man can choose his destination and still be driven off course if he is moved by every wave of emotion. This is why emotional detachment is the fortress wall that guards the throne. To master detachment is to master stability, to remain clear when others are clouded, to remain deliberate when others are rash. Detachment is not coldness. It is not the absence of care. It is care under control. It is feeling the heat of emotion without letting it burn your judgment. It is the power to step back in the moment of provocation and ask, will this reaction serve my purpose or will it serve my enemy? And if it serves the enemy, whether that enemy is an opponent, a distraction, or the undisciplined part of yourself, you do not act. To build detachment, you must practice it deliberately. Pause before responding. Delay your decisions until the emotion has cooled. Refuse to act on first impulse. In time, you will notice that what once provoked you now barely moves you, that what once distracted you now glances off your mind without finding purchase. This is the first taste of real freedom. But even a free mind will betray itself if it cannot be trusted to follow through. Here, discipline enters the daily proof that your word to yourself is law. Discipline is forged in small victories. Wake when you say you will wake. Begin when you say you will begin. Finish when you say you will finish. Each kept promise builds a chain of self-respect. Each broken promise weakens it. The undisciplined man lives in constant betrayal of himself. He dreams grandly at night and breaks faith with himself by morning. He speaks of ambition, but his actions declare loyalty to comfort. Such a man is at war within, and until that war is won, he cannot expect victory without. Discipline is not about punishing the self, it is about aligning the self. It is the process of bringing your thoughts, emotions, and actions into single-file march toward your purpose. It is the removal of inner contradiction. And when you remove contradiction, you remove wasted motion, wasted time, wasted energy. Yet, there is a danger here. A man may be disciplined in action, yet misguided in direction. This is why accurate thinking must sit beside discipline as its constant counselor. Accurate thinking is the habit of seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. It is the habit of testing every assumption, separating fact from opinion, cause from coincidence, truth from rumor. The accurate thinker is a rare creature. He refuses to be swayed by the loudness of a claim, by the repetition of a story, by the comfort of believing what is pleasant. He demands evidence. He measures that evidence against reality. And when the truth contradicts his preference, he adjusts his preference, not the truth. This habit alone will save you years of wasted effort, for it will keep you from building on false ground. It will keep you from chasing mirages. It will force you to prune habits that do not serve your aim, even if they have become familiar companions. And though the pruning may sting, the fruit it produces is worth the pain. Finally comes personal initiative, the habit that transforms all others into visible results. Without initiative, purpose is theory, detachment is idleness, discipline is sterile, and accurate thinking is unused intelligence. Initiative is the courage to act while others are waiting for certainty, to move while others are still deciding, to create opportunity rather than wait for it. The man of initiative does not live in reaction. He does not wait for instructions. He sees what must be done and begins. He understands that action itself is a form of intelligence, for movement reveals what still needs to be known. Each step forward gives him new ground from which to see the next step more clearly. When these forces unite purpose as the throne, detachment as the wall, discipline as the guard, accurate thinking as the guide, and initiative as the sword, you become the master of your inner world. And when you master your inner world, the outer world must yield. You will still meet resistance, yes, but that resistance will be external and therefore weaker than the resistance you have already conquered within. At this point, habits are no longer something you try to build. They are simply who you are, and who you are determines what you do, and what you do determines what you have. The chain is unbreakable unless you choose to break it by returning to the habits of the weaker self. Do not return. Do not compromise. Do not step back into the prison you have escaped. For every day you live by these principles, you fortify the walls, sharpen the sword, and add another brick to the palace of your destiny. And when the palace stands complete, the world will not marvel at your luck, nor at your talent, but at the simple, unstoppable force of a man who mastered himself. The truth you must face is this: you are not a victim of fate, you are a product of your patterns. Every thought you repeat, every choice you make without thinking, every instinct you indulge without examination, these are the seeds from which your future grows. If you plant without care, do not be surprised when you reap weeds. If you plant with precision, you will harvest with certainty. A man's habits are his silent architects. They are at work while he sleeps, shaping the structure of his days and therefore the trajectory of his life. And the most dangerous thing about them is how invisible they become. Once a habit is formed, it fades into the background. You no longer decide it, it decides for you. This is why the weak man wakes up years later, wondering how he drifted so far from what he wanted, and why the strong man looks back to see that his steady, deliberate repetitions have carried him exactly where he intended to go. The first act in reshaping destiny is therefore the inspection of the foundation, the clear, ruthless examination of what you do every day without fail. You must hold each habit to the light of your definite purpose and ask, does this serve me or does it serve my enemy? If it serves your enemy, whether that enemy is laziness, distraction, ignorance, or fear, it must be removed, no matter how comfortable it feels, no matter how long it has been with you. Here is where most falter. They underestimate the power of the small. They believe they can indulge one weakness just a little without consequence. They tell themselves, it's only one missed day, one wasted hour, one bad choice. But they forget that habit is not measured in size, it is measured in direction. A small habit, repeated, can build a great fortune or a great ruin. The stream that seems harmless becomes a river. The river becomes a flood. This is why definiteness of purpose is non-negotiable. It is not simply choosing a goal, it is building a compass that points every habit in the same direction. Without it, even your good habits may be scattered, working against each other, creating movement without momentum. You will be like a ship with sails full of wind, but no rudder, carried quickly, but nowhere. When you choose your purpose, you must choose it as a commander chooses a battlefield, after considering the cost, after preparing for the resistance, after deciding that no alternative will do. This choice must be so absolute that it reshapes your identity. You no longer see yourself as trying to achieve it. You see yourself as the man who will achieve it, and all habits are aligned with that identity. But once the purpose is fixed, you will discover something unsettling. The world will try to bend you away from it, sometimes openly, more often subtly. It will distract you, tempt you, discourage you. It will applaud the wrong moves and ignore the right ones. And unless you master emotional detachment, you will find yourself pulled off course without even noticing it happen. Emotional detachment is the ability to remain loyal to your plan when every external signal urges you to abandon it. It is the refusal to be ruled by praise or by insult, by fear or by excitement. The reactive man is always in danger because his mind is open to invasion. A single word can plant doubt. A single event can shatter focus. The detached man is untouchable because his gate is guarded. He listens, but he does not obey until he has measured the message against his own purpose. Detachment is not natural, it is trained. You train it by creating space between stimulus and response, by refusing to answer instantly, by letting the emotion settle before you decide. Over time, you will discover that you can feel deeply without being ruled by feeling. This is when detachment becomes a weapon you can move through the chaos of others without becoming chaotic yourself. Yet, detachment without discipline is like a fortified city with no soldiers inside, safe from invasion but incapable of advancing. Discipline is what turns the calm mind into a productive force. It is the daily, deliberate enforcement of your own orders. It is rising when you said you would rise, working when you said you would work, finishing what you said you would finish. It is treating your own word as binding. Weak men obey others but disobey themselves. They meet the deadlines of employers while ignoring the deadlines they set for their own dreams. This is self-betrayal at the deepest level. Every time you let yourself off the hook, you train your mind to believe that your own commands can be ignored. Discipline reverses this. It trains you to believe that your own commands are law. But discipline without direction can be dangerous. A disciplined fool will reach ruin faster than a lazy one. This is why accurate thinking must be your constant guide. Accurate thinking demands that you separate what is true from what is assumed, what is fact from what is opinion. It demands that you build your habits on reality, not on rumor, not on the illusion of how things should be, but on how they are. This requires humility. You must be willing to discard even cherished habits if the evidence shows they do not serve your purpose. You must be willing to admit when you are wrong, not for the sake of self-punishment, but for the sake of self-correction. Accurate thinking is not about protecting the ego, it is about protecting the mission. And then, when all is aligned, purpose chosen, detachment forged, discipline enforced, thinking clarified, you must act, you must take personal initiative. Without it, all preparation is wasted. The man of initiative does not wait for the right moment. He knows the right moment is the one in which he decides to move. The field of opportunity is never empty, but it is never open for long. The man who moves first writes the rules. The man who moves second plays by them. This is why initiative is the final and most visible habit. It turns all the others into results the world can see. And once the world sees results, it will respond. People will offer resources, alliances, openings. But here's the paradox. These things will not come because you needed them. They will come because you proved you could move without them. The first law we laid was definiteness of purpose, but I will tell you now, most men treat purpose like a candle in the wind. They light it in a moment of inspiration, carry it out into the open air of life, and then watch helplessly as the smallest gust extinguishes it. They blame the weather, they blame the world. They never admit that the fault was in the weakness of their flame. Your purpose must be a fire that no wind can touch. You do not light it in fragile wax. You build it into the furnace of your mind, fed daily by the fuel of thought, guarded by the walls of commitment. A definite purpose is the law to which all habits must bow. If a habit does not serve it, it is treason, and you must put it to death. There is no innocent waste of time, no harmless indulgence, no just this once. The mathematics of achievement has no mercy. Each act moves you forward or backward. The man who understands this lives with the sharp clarity of a commander in enemy territory. He knows there is no safe place to idle. Once your purpose is fixed, the second law, emotional detachment, is your shield. For the moment you begin to walk in the direction of your purpose, the world will begin to test your stability. People will try to persuade you to slow down, to settle for less, to be realistic. Their words will sound like reason, but if you strip them of their politeness, you will hear the truth. They are urging you to abandon your post. The man without detachment obeys such voices because they play on his emotions, fear of failure, hunger for approval, desire for comfort. The man with detachment listens, but does not obey until the command passes the test of his own judgment. To train detachment, you must master the pause. When provoked, do not answer immediately. When tempted, do not act immediately. When praised, do not relax immediately. Let the emotion pass through the filter of your purpose. Ask, if I obey this feeling, will I be stronger tomorrow or weaker? Only act when the answer serves strength. Detachment, however, without discipline is a fortress without movement, safe but stagnant. Discipline is the daily march toward your aim. It is the refusal to betray yourself by breaking your own word. Weak men can be relied upon by others, but not by themselves. They keep their promises to the world, but not to their own ambitions. This is why their lives are full of frustrated plans and half-built dreams. Your discipline must be personal law. When you say you will wake, you wake. When you say you will work, you work. When you say you will finish, you finish. This is not about punishment. It is about proving to yourself every day that your own commands are to be obeyed. But discipline without accurate thinking can lead you into disaster, for a disciplined fool only reaches failure more efficiently. Accurate thinking is the habit of separating what is true from what is merely convenient to believe. It is the courage to destroy illusions, even when they are comforting. It is the habit of asking, how do I know this is true? What is the proof? And being willing to change course when the facts demand it. The accurate thinker examines his habits with the same rigor. A jeweler examines a diamond, turning them under the light, looking for flaws, testing their strength. He does not cling to a habit because it is familiar. He keeps it only if it produces measurable advantage. And finally, personal initiative, the sword that turns all the other weapons into action. Without initiative, purpose is a dream. Detachment is passivity. Discipline is sterile. And accurate thinking is wasted intelligence. Initiative is the habit of striking while others are still sharpening their blades, of moving before the crowd has decided to move, of shaping events rather than waiting for events to shape you. The man of initiative lives by this law. Conditions will never be perfect, so I will act while others wait for perfection. He knows that the first mover writes the rules and the second mover plays by them. When you unite these five purposes, detachment, discipline, accurate thinking, and initiative, you become untouchable. You are no longer a passenger in life, subject to the moods of others and the accidents of circumstance. You become the cause instead of the effect. The world adjusts itself to you because you have already adjusted yourself to your aim. From here, every day is deliberate. You do not see what happens, you decide what happens. You do not hope for opportunity, you create it. You do not wait to feel ready. You move because you have decided that readiness is not a feeling but a decision. This is mastery. This is the state in which wealth, power, and influence are no longer things you chase. They are things that orbit you, drawn by the gravity of your certainty. And here is the most important truth I can give you. The habits that carry you there will never build themselves. You must build them. You must guard them. And you must refuse to let the weaker self, the one who hungers for comfort and fears discomfort, ever rise again. Each day you live by these laws, you bury him deeper. Each day you break them, you dig him up, and he will take back the throne if you give him the chance. So do not give him the chance. Build daily habits, as a king builds his empire brick by brick, law by law, without compromise and without delay. For the empire of your future is already being built. The only question is whether you will rule it or be ruled by it. You must understand that the man who wins is not the man who tries, nor the man who hopes, nor the man who wants. The man who wins is the one who has burned the bridges to retreat, the one who has welded shut every door that leads back to mediocrity. He has left himself no choice but forward, no option but up, no outcome but victory. When you live by purpose, when you guard it with detachment, when you enforce it with discipline, guide it with accurate thinking, and drive it with initiative, you become something rare, a man who cannot be swayed, stalled, or seduced away from his course. You are no longer one among the crowd. You are the one the crowd cannot move. And here is the secret they will never tell you. Once you reach this state, the world will try to disguise its surrender as generosity. It will say you were lucky. It will say you were given opportunities. It will invent reasons to explain your success that remove your discipline from the equation, because to acknowledge the truth would condemn their own inaction. Let them talk. You will not hear them from the height you have reached. Your life will be a fortress not built of stone, but of habits so precise and so relentless that no force can penetrate them. The storms will come, and they will break upon your walls. The seasons will turn, and you will stand unmoved. And from this position, you will look out over the world and see that there was never any mystery to power, only the mastery of self. So burn the map that leads back to comfort. Let the weaker self starve in the darkness you have left him. Walk forward into the life you have chosen as if no other life exists. Act as though the throne is already yours, and act every day to prove yourself worthy of it. For there is no fate, no luck, no destiny greater than this, to be the master of your own mind, and through that mastery to command the course of your own life. The time for hesitation is over. The time for compromise is over. From this day forward, there is only the law you give yourself and the victory that law will demand. Live by it, and you will not merely succeed, you will dominate. You will not merely survive, you will reign. And when history asks what kind of man you were, the answer will be carved into the life you built, a man who decided and never turned back.